Luke 1, 74 through 75 says, "To grant us that we, being rescued from the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear, in holiness and righteousness before him all our days." Well, if you're joining us in reading through this 25-day reading plan, today's reading is Luke 1, 67 through 80, and I encourage you to read that passage. Well, today I'd like to focus on 4 words which Zacharias used to describe the result of John's birth and ministry. These 4 words are rescued, served, holiness, and righteousness. These words describe what has occurred in the life of a person who has a relationship with Christ and what they are to do with that relationship. Now, the word translated rescue has a much more complex meaning than just being taken from an environment and placed in another one. It means to be drawn to the rescuer. It is not the fact that we have been taken out of the situation only. It means that we now have a relationship with that person who delivered us. Also, the verb is in the passive voice, which means that we had nothing to do with the rescuing. We have been rescued not by our own accord, but by someone else's actions. And this places us in a position where we are now under the control of another person, one who has our best interest at heart. Now, the word to serve is one of 2 words used in Greek to describe someone's work. The first, which is normally associated with a slave, means that the person is compelled to work with no reward in view. But we have been called to serve him without fear. This means, the word means here that the service is the same word would be used for a priest serving in the temple or tabernacle. It is service that is worshipful and not out of compulsion. We do not serve God because we're required to serve God. We serve him because we are worshiping him and we have a relationship with him. Now, the word translated holiness is related to the keeping of an ordinance or the performance of a pious duty in a religious or social life. This word encompasses everything we're to do because of our relationship with God through Christ. We do have duties to perform in this religious life, so to speak. We are to learn about God. We're to love our fellow man. We're to pray, seeking God's guidance, wisdom, and mercy. But our duties do not end with our religious life. Our duty to extend our day-to-day life is in focus, and it really should be no different than our religious life. Unfortunately, we tend to separate the religious from the secular. We seem to act differently when we're in a religious environment or a church setting than we act when we are outside that setting. Holiness, therefore, requires that we use our whole life in the performance of pious duties and the keeping of God's ordinances. That doesn't mean that we become legalistic and we set up rules and regulations in which we might follow. Holiness means that our lives are completely encompassed by what we do and by who we are. Finally, righteousness is to be just what we do. Justice has no vision. All are equal under justice, and we're to treat everybody exactly the same, whether they're rich or poor, or have a large amount of education or no education at all. Those who have a position of authority and those who have no authority at all, we're to treat them all the same. We are not to take sides based on what people are or who they are. We're to treat everyone equally. Now, these 4 words that Zacharias spoke should guide us in who we are as believers in our daily walk with God.